All right. Hello. Welcome back. Today we're at the 2023 Cherry Pie Criterium. And it might look like I've arrived to this race very late and am not prepared. However, that is not the case. Uh, we did one lap, and there was an incident on the course that caused us to need to restart. This was a bit of a bummer, mostly because I was amped for this race. I lined up on the very front, and I was putting in a ripper of a first lap when they kind of called it off and said, "You need to, well, we all need to start over," right? So that was a little annoying, and but there's nothing you could do. Sure, I went and did 350 watts for 2 minutes and really hurt myself. But you know what you do? You do it again. So that's all you can do in this situation. So that's what we're doing. I re-racked. I found a slot. I'm behind this San Jose rider right now, and I'm desperately hoping that it opens up so I can do exactly what I did about 7 minutes ago, which was blast 1,000 watts and be the first one into the technical section on this extremely technical course. So, right now we're being yelled at a little bit by the race organizer for not stopping. However, he told us to slow down, and now that the race was stopped when we went by him on the finish line, and we're racers, we're gonna race until you actually tell us to stop. But that's beside the point. We're off, and my plan worked out great. There was a gap that opened up. The San Jose rider moved out of the way, and I decided to punch it again going into this super tight section. Uh, this course is tough. There's no other way to put it. It's twisty and very technical, followed by straightaways. So you've got the straightaways, you've got these things going on. There's really there's nothing else to do except ride these technical sections as well as you can, maintain your speed, don't drag your brakes, and get out onto the straightaways with some speed, and hopefully don't eat the wind and kind of eat up all your energy. Like this straightaway and the one directly opposite of it were areas where you needed to put down a lot of power if you wanted to maintain a lot of speed. I'm doing about like 280 to 300 watts and only doing 23 miles per hour. It's not a huge amount of speed, and there's a slight headwind heading this way. So I'm going into the headwind now, which resulted in a tailwind on the other side. You can see that up there in the corner with the little arrows associated with the map. But man, coming in today, riding with Dolce Vita, we had 4 or 5 guys. We had Massimo, Michael Wall, Michael King, myself, and maybe one other with us. And I kind of said going into this thing, hey guys, we've got the biggest team here. We've got the most cumulative watts. Oh, Jeff Yates. So let's take it to them. Like, this is our race. Everyone in this race is a guest. That's our attitude. That's what we need to be. This is our race, and they're a guest here today. And that's how I want us to race this race aggressively, smartly, and take some ownership. So that's what I did here on the first lap. I came out and ripped it hard. For the most part. Let's talk about other teams, because 2 of the other teams that are in this race just popped in front of me. There's the Swift team. The organizers chose to put us with the juniors today. So we had 15-year-olds with us. I could be this person's father, I tell you. And there's also even even older riders with us who are racing in the E4 race. So there's a massive range of age level on the course, and a decent amount of difference on fitness as well. So it was kind of cool, but also a little bit sketchy. Like, if you're an adult and you take out a child, even if the child deserved it, it's your fault. Like you don't come away from that looking good, even if the 15-year-old tried to put you into the wall. You know, if you're an adult, a 30-year-old, and you put a 15-year-old into the wall, even if they quote unquote like deserved it, uh, you're not. It's not a good look. So yeah, I definitely got to stay out of the teenagers' way. But they're very fast. The Swift riders you can see up ahead right here are already putting the herd on the field and riding very well, I might say. So that was the first lap or so. The teams are Swift, Dolce Vita, and Tarun. Tarun will be featured a little later, and I would say they probably, as a team, operated maybe the best on the course today. But for now, at this point, we're 10 minutes into the race. My teammate, Michael Wall, hits the gas, and I just sit up on my hoods and hang out and watch him sail off into the distance. Because rule number 1, don't chase your teammates. And I haven't forgotten that. So I let him go. So San Jose, Tarun, Davis, and then all the other riders, they got to play the game. They got to come out here and reel that back in, or my team wins. And that's a win for me just as much as it is for my teammate Mike, who's up there. So we're heading into this twisty section. Again, I want to highlight the kind of the nature that is the technical aspect of this. If you take poor lines, it really does sap your energy and it causes problems. I love this section. I found myself able to move up through the pack at will through here. But then when it came to like pulling on the straightaways, I'm not a really massive guy who dumps just like big raw watts. So it was a little bit more tough on the straightaways. And so as part of my strategy was to execute in the technical areas and then shelter on the straightaways, right? Save the energy on the straightaways and actually blast the technical sections really smoothly. And believe it or not, you're saving energy there too. If you're not surging up and stepping on it super hard at every corner, you're carrying your speed. It's saving energy there too. So Mike was brought back. Oh, I want to show you what it looks like to do this section very well. This rider in front of me, Evan, spoiler alert, you need to watch out for this guy. He comes back with a vengeance later in this race. He took these lines super smooth, super well. He's carrying his speed. He's going inside, outside. He's not dragging the brakes. He's in control the whole way. It was so awesome to be riding behind him and see that happen. And we went through there so well that we gapped the field. Like we came out of that section, and when I look back, we had like maybe 20 or 30 feet on the next person. So that's an example of what it looks like when it's done just so well. And here's an example maybe when it's done a little less well. This Tarun rider goes in at like 30 miles an hour into this corner and cooks it hard. And it forces him to go outside, right? And then he's inside on the right-hander, but then that forces him to go outside on the end of that right-hander. So I go outside, inside, and I'm able to overtake him while doing minimal efforts and reel him back in. And so that was kind of the game that I played. It's make up my time in those technical sections, get to the front here in this straightaway, try to do a manageable effort, but not really pull. And speaking of not pulling on the straightaways, this Davis rider and I worked together quite a lot, and we're able to switch off between the technical sections and the straightaways. I took the technical, he took the straightaways. And it worked out quite well for both of us, I feel like, in the end. Right now, Tarun, I mentioned they would be featured later. They just took a preem, and they're rolling off the front right now with a rider, and they've got another guy on the front of our pack. So I'm a little worried at this point in the race because we're probably 20 minutes into the race, and the field has been shredded, pretty much destroyed. If you were at the back of the pack, you're you're just tailed off. There's nothing you can do. You can see some riders over on the other side of the course making their way, but the lead group, the selections that occurred were pretty hard to manage, and if the gaps opened up, closing them were difficult. So we've got a kind of select group occurring here, and Tarun had 2 riders in that select group. So I'm keeping my eyeball on them and thinking, all right, they've got the numbers to do this and execute very well, at least as we're going through the race. We're at 6 laps to go now, and I believe it's a San Jose rider that's off the front here. He pushes this corner a little too hard. Unfortunately, there's just a little bit of pavement where they did some work that was really rough and not so hot. So he went down, and it created this gap. And you can see the Tarun rider working really hard to get onto the wheel of this guy who's in an all-black kit with a black bike. I believe his name is Torin. Torin was putting in some pretty mean attacks late into the race that hurt quite badly. And all of a sudden, I find myself on the receiving end of an attack that I did not respond to. So it's not great. I know that there's a Tarun rider on my wheel, and if I go, I'm going to bring him up with him. But I kind of have to do the work. I have to do the work, otherwise they're going to ride away. At least that's my thought. When I'm looking at this move, I'm going, man, if I don't put in the work, I might be playing for third here, and I don't want that. So I did it 1,000 watts and really brought up the pace and thought, well, maybe I can hurt the people behind me too and force them to make a move. But then by the end of the straightaway, you can see they were soft pedaling, and I was right on the rear wheel. So hindsight's 2020. Was it worth it that I actually push hard and do 1,000 watts and get on their wheels really quickly? It probably wasn't. I probably could have slowly reeled them in, especially on this section if I rolled through fast. Even if there was a gap, I feel like I would have been right on their rear wheels by the end of it. But, in the moment, I thought, okay, if I don't get on there and they step on the gas, I'm in trouble. Oh, here we go. This is the first moment when I see EJ for the first time in front of me. I looked back earlier in the race and I saw him and thought, oh no, here's a Couch to Crit Man himself, EJ. I don't know much about him at this point, other than he went out and won his Cat 5 race and did some ungodly sprint number of 1,500 or more watts in the sprint. So I know the dude's got a motor. I know that he has been getting kind of trained up by Mr. NorCal himself, Jeff Linder, and he knows what he's doing, right? And I hadn't seen him up until about 6 laps to go, so he wasn't eating wind. He might have been closing gaps. I heard him kind of mention that later on, that he had to close a lot of gaps to get here, so that might have been fatiguing for him. But in my mind, at this point in the race, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking, man, I haven't seen this guy's front wheel the whole race, and here he is. And we're getting toward the end of the race now, so the attacks start to come pretty fast, and there's lots of these little surges on the straightaways that happen that if you don't really have the power left in the legs, you could just get tailed off, and there were 3 or 4 riders who did get tailed off on those little attacks. Wow, we're moving so fast. Bell lap. At this point, I've actually sat in a little bit. I realized that there is just no way that we're going to get into a small man break move, and the field has been totally blown apart. I think there's 8 people with me or less, right? So we've got 8 or less people with me. There's no break happening. This is it. This is the final selection. I need to sit in. I need to rest up. I'm going to use rest in quotes because I've been working way too hard on the front and eating a lot of wind for the entire race, it felt like. But now is the time to sit in. And before I started this race, I told myself that I was going to be third wheel heading into the final straightaway of this. That's what I wanted. I wanted third wheel. And so that's what I'm working toward and where I'm at now. We've got like a little over half a lap to go. And here comes another attack by Torin, this Davis rider, and then EJ follows, and then I follow. Still a good spot. I'm not too far up front. I'm not losing it. The scrappy Swift rider was definitely trying to snake a line on me toward here, but it was really fast, and I wasn't about to let him in. Not this late in the race anyway. And so, yeah, we're picking it up. And by this measure, we're doing 26, 27 miles an hour. I thought we were going pretty fast. Look at Evan come and blast that thing. He flew into that corner at 32 miles an hour and railed it. I mean, you got to give it up to the guy. And while that was going on, I don't know if you noticed, but EJ just slipped out of my view. He's behind me now. So he's drafting on me. He's now like basically fifth wheel. But Evan has put on a clinic, railed, and now is motoring away. And we can't respond in time. So this is the final sprint. It's a 4-up sprint for second. Torin, this Davis rider, me, and EJ. I see the move start to happen. The Davis rider rolls around. He starts picking it up, and I go and roll for it. I give it everything I have, throw my bike, and the result, third place. EJ, who rolled forward right there, he's in the orange jersey, is carrying a ton of speed, and he pipped me at the line. He just barely got me. Kind of a bummer. Wish I was standing on second, on the second slot, but third will do. Really tough, hard race. The field was just shredded. The corners were fast. And guess what? The pie tastes good. Oh yeah. Victory pie tastes so good. Okay, one more thing while I finish up my pie. I also did the 3-4 race, and Wei, a friend of mine who was also in the Elite 3-4 race, very fast, talented rider, an efficiency guru, if you ask me, said, "Hey, you want to talk about the 3-4 race together? I'll put some cameras on my bike and let's go back and forth and talk about it and kind of compare our races." Now, I have my 3-4 race queued up. I have it on my camera, and coming up next is a video where we kind of actually compare our experiences in that race and talk about them. So keep an eye out for that. I'll give you a little sneak peek. The 3-4 race was one of the best races from a spectator perspective that you could have asked for in the NorCal scene. It was very exciting and came down to the final 200 meters. Do not miss it. Yeah, cheers. I'll see you in the next one. I'm going to keep eating my pie. Peace.